Welcome back to all our viewers to the discussion on Budget 2022. We have with us here Srimati Pragya Sahay Saksena, Member, Legislation and Systems in the Central Board of Direct Taxes. Ma'am supervises and oversees the functioning of the Tax Policy and Legislation Division, which is the nodal office for the formulation of direct tax laws in the country. In the earlier episode, we had discussed the measures taken in the budget to enhance ease of doing business and tax certainty. In this episode, we shall be looking at the two other aspects of the budget that are socio-economic welfare and the widening and the deepening of tax base. Ma'am, so in respect of socio-economic welfare, one thing that always happens in every budget that is presented is that there is always a proposal wherein the tax slabs are changed or there's a relief given to the taxpayers. So, but then this year the tax slabs have continued to remain the same. So, can you please explain to our viewers what the thought process was in the background for that decision?
See, as you are aware and everybody is aware that for past 2 years, the entire world has been reeling under the pressure of COVID pandemic, and there are so many issues which have to be taken care of both at the government level and at the individual level. So, and for that resources are needed by the government for providing the public goods to the people and also providing them the contingencies which are arising to take care of them. The funds are required, and the individuals also who have suffered because of this COVID, they also have to be supported by the government. So in that direction, a number of measures have already been taken by the government. Whatever promises government made, the legislative provisions are already there in the statute. So that is already in the direction of providing relief to those who really need it. So this is the time when we have to take care of the people who need it the most. So that is how we have been moving forward.
Ma'am, so like you said that a lot of benefits or a lot of relaxations have already been incorporated in the budget proposals. Could you throw some light on what are the kinds of relaxations that individual taxpayers can expect from this?
See, because of this unfortunate pandemic, which is there and which continues to be there and doesn't allow any one of us to be without mask, without fear. So, in this process, there are people who have suffered because of COVID. They have undergone treatment. People have come out and helped them for treatment. So, if that person is an individual and he is a salaried person, his employer might have helped him for giving this benefit. Under the normal provisions of the Act, if any benefit is given by the employer to the employee, that becomes his perquisite. But it was decided by the government that no, it will not be treated as perquisite. So if any employer is giving any kind of reimbursement for any treatment of the employee on account of the COVID-19 or his family members, then that will not be treated as a perquisite. This has been provided under Section 17. This amendment is proposed by Finance Bill 2022. And similarly, if any payment is being received, unfortunately, if the person is no more, he leaves this world, and some ex gratia payment is being given by the employer to the family members, that will not be considered as an income of the person who is getting this amount because of the sad demise of the employee. Similarly, if any other organization or anybody else is also making some kind of help to the person, it is subject to certain conditions, like it should be received within a 1 year period. So that is the condition, and certain other conditions which the central government may notify, that will be done after the budget is the bill gets assent of the president. Similarly, if there is any ex gratia payment given by any other organization or anyone else, then to the extent of 10 lakh rupees, it will not be treated as an income of the person who is receiving it. So these are the benefits which have been given on account of COVID purely, and this is for the people who have unfortunately suffered, and for the for promotion of, you said that for socio-economic benefit also certain measures have been taken, like because we have tax benefits for the startups and also for the companies which have to start manufacturing before a particular date. For them there is a lower rate of tax that they are liable to tax at the rate of 15%. So in that case, for the companies which have to start manufacturing, the last date was 31/3/23, but because of COVID 2 years have been badly disturbed, so this time has been extended by a year and they can start the activity by 31 324 that has been provided. And in the case of startup also, there are a number of conditions which make them eligible for the deduction under section 80IA(c) of the Income Tax Act. For that, they had to be incorporated by 31/3/22. So, and that started from for the 2 years, because this everything has been disturbed. So that time has also been extended by a year. So these are the benefits which have been given to both the natural persons and the non-natural persons.
Ma'am, so is there a relaxation in terms of surcharge as well in the course of this budget 2020-22?
Yes, some of the surcharges have been rationalized, like in the case of cooperative societies, the surcharge of 12% was applicable if the income exceeded 1 crore rupees. So that has been now aligned with the surcharge which is applicable in the case of domestic companies. In the case of domestic companies, the surcharge from, if the income exceeds 1 crore rupees and it does not exceed 10 crore rupees, the surcharge rate is 7%. So the same has been made applicable to the corporate societies, and if it is exceeding 10 crore rupees, then the surcharge rate of surcharge is 12%. The same has been made applicable to the cooperative societies. Similarly, there is, like some of the companies, they have to come together and form an AOP, Association of Persons, for doing certain activities, like it is Turkey project or something like that. So they have to come together. So if they come together, they become an AOP. So for the AOP, the surcharge, the highest surcharge is at 37%. So because otherwise, had they been, say, individual companies, they would have been liable to the surcharge of 12%. So for them, a surcharge of 15% has been fixed if all the AOP has its members as its member, all the companies only.
Okay.
So the surcharge has also been aligned in that case. And then in the case of long-term capital gains, in the surcharge with regard to those securities, I should say, or shares, which are listed and which are liable to STT, the cap on surcharge was 15%. That has been made applicable to all types of items which are covered, which are liable, where there is going to be a long-term capital gain. The surcharge is capped at 15%. That means if it is exceeding 50 lakh rupees and up to 1 crore rupees, the surcharge will be 10%, and above 1 crore it will be 15%. Okay. So these are the further relaxations which have been given, or rationalization which has been done.
So indeed, there have been a lot of relaxations that are included in this budget. And ma'am, in addition to socio-economic welfare, widening and deepening of tax base is also one of the core founding principles of any tax administration. Income Tax Department of India is no different in that respect. So widening, we mean bringing under the tax net eligible citizens who have not paid or who have been not covered by taxation till now. And deepening essentially means collecting the right amount of tax from someone who's already within the tax net. So in this respect, what has Budget 2022 proposed this time in respect of widening and deepening of the tax base?
You rightly said that widening and deepening is one of the most important areas of work at which a tax officer has to look at, because the person who has to pay tax, he should pay the fair share of tax of the income which he or she is earning, so that it is used by the government for the public good, for the welfare of everyone in the who is in that country. So in that context, the TDS provisions, we had certain proposals are there in the Finance Bill 2022 which take care of these things. One is, like, we have a provision called 194IA which says that if the consideration for the property exceeds is 50 lakh or more, then the payer has to deduct 1% of the consideration value as TDS. Now, if we look at this provision vis-a-vis the other provisions in the Act, that is 43CA, which is also regarding immovable property, and 50C. 43CA is in the context of business profits and gains of business and profession, and 50C is in the context of capital gains. There the word both consideration as well as the stamp duty value has been used. So in this case also it has been clarified that if the sale consideration or the stamp duty value is 50 lakh or more, then there will be a TDS. So that this clarity has been brought. Otherwise, what will happen if the stamp duty value is more but the consideration is less, then you will not get the TDS. So that alignment has been done. Secondly, there are cases where people are giving gifts or the perquisites in the form of in non-cash form to the various agents or various people who are doing their activities like pharmaceutical companies. They're giving it to many people. So this is, though there is a provision under the Act, that is 28(4), which says that perquisites and benefits are taxable in the hands of the recipient, but there was no TDS mechanism. So for that, a provision has been brought, 194R, if I remember correctly, that has been provided, that says if the value of this perquisite exceeds 20,000 rupees, then TDS has to be done. And there, if it is in kind, then it has to be ensured that it is collected. So that provision has been brought. And besides that, there is now, last year there was a provision that if somebody in a person's case, TDS has been done exceeding 50,000 rupees in last 2 years and the person does not file the return, then the year in which the TDS is being done, that will be done at a higher rate. So that provision has now been further looked into, and now if this default continues for 1 year, suppose TDS is to be done in the month of April 22 and for financial year 1920, for that 2021 return, the time is gone and the person has not filed. 21, 22 also, if the time has gone and the person has not filed, so we'll see one return where the tax has not been deducted. The tax has been deducted but the return has not been filed. In that case, the higher rate of TDS will be applicable. So this is the change which has been brought, and we expect that we will be getting a good number of people who will be liable to file the return, in this case by way of higher TDS. And a new provision has also been brought, that is, that TDS provision is related to the digital asset in that context. So that is linked to the taxation of the digital asset and the TDS.
Yes. So, ma'am, going from your response, I mean, the reference to a digital asset. So, cryptocurrency is something that has been in the discussion for many years now, and everyone has been looking as to how the government in general and the income tax department in specific is going to tax the transactions involving digital assets, under which cryptocurrency is one kind of digital asset. So, Budget 2022 has made a move, and we now have something like a code to tax the transactions in digital assets. Could you throw some light on that and explain in terms of what are the new proposals that have been made?
See, crypto, we use it a crypto word, but actually it is a digital asset.
Right.
So the law as it is existed prior to this amendment, we did get some cases where people were like transacting in cryptos, and then the tax was being levied in accordance with the normal provisions of the Act. Now a specific provision has been brought in. The digital asset has been defined. A specific definition has been given of the digital asset that also includes NFT, that is non-fungible tokens are also included over there, and this is proposed to be part of the Section 2 of the Income Tax Act, that is 247A, that defines the digital asset. The digital asset, with the consideration for transfer of a digital asset, will be liable to tax at the rate of 30%, and what is going to be allowed as a deduction is the cost of acquisition. No loss, no allowance, no other deduction will be allowed against this or under any other provision of the Act. This is the provision for taxation of the crypto. And for TDS, it has been provided that if the digital asset is being like there is a consideration for this digital asset, then that is 194S section has been brought. So if this digital asset is transferred and a consideration is being paid by somebody to the transferor, in that case, tax will be deducted at the rate of 1%. If the person is an individual who is not liable to audit, and then that person, there the value should in aggregate exceed 50,000 rupees, then he will be liable to deduct the tax. And in any other person, like if it is through exchange and all, the aggregate value should be 10,000 rupees. So TDS, and there is also a provision for guidelines to be issued under that Act. Under that section it is proposed. So if there are issues which will come up for consideration, then guidelines can also be issued.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. And that was a very informative session. about some of the most talked about proposals in Budget 2022. The members' observations on the proposals impacting socio-economic welfare were quite insightful, and I am very sure these will benefit all our stakeholders. Thank you for joining us in this session, and do remember to tune in again for our most detailed and elaborate session on how Budget 2022 impacts charitable institutions and trusts. Do share this video with someone who you think will be benefited by the information. Thank you and Jai Hind.